Hello, it's now 8 a.m. Hanoi time and you're watching another live edition of VTV News. You're with me, Dai Chang, and here check out the headlines for this bulletin. French and Vietnamese Communist parties tighten links. Seminar held to discuss improvements of the legal framework for banking system restructuring. And a joint U.S., Vietnamese and South African student exchange program explore ways to help bring an end to wildlife crime. The top news for the bulletin. The National Secretary of the French Communist Party, Pierre Laurent, has arrived in Hanoi. His trip was set to attend the second Joint Theory Conference. A reception was held for the French Communist Party delegation on Tuesday. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng hosted a reception for the National Secretary of the French Communist Party, Pierre Laurent, in Hanoi on Tuesday during his attendance in the second Joint Theory Conference. During talks, Pierre Laurent spoke highly of the deeper bilateral cooperation between the two parties over recent years. The French party leader stressed that the Communist Party of France would do its utmost to further promote the friendship and solidarity between the two parties. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng thanked the Communist Party of France for enhancing understanding between the two countries. The Vietnamese party leader also suggested enhancing the special traditional relationship between the two parties in a practical manner. Later that afternoon, during the working session, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng stressed that Vietnam would further strengthen cooperation with French Communist Party and promote a strategic partnership between the two countries. The PM expressed his hope that French Communist Party would continue supporting cooperation activities, especially in economics, trade and investment, tourism, education, and science and technology. Laurent expressed concern over the situation in the East Sea. He said he welcomed Vietnam's stance on resolutely safeguarding national independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity, and resolving any dispute through peaceful means and in respect of international law. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng, General Lê Hồng Anh, and leaders from departments, ministries, and central agencies attended the Patriotic Emulation Congress. The event was held by Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday morning, October 27th. Speaking at the event, the Prime Minister praised everyone that had made contributions to maintaining peaceful and enhanced relationship with other nations while raising Vietnam's international profile. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng stated that global integration would facilitate national development but also pose challenges and difficulties. Therefore, he required the country's diplomat to keep in mind the government and party's policies in terms of foreign affairs, make a further effort to achieve more in terms of global integration activities, and support the development of a favorable environment for sustainable development.
This movement must be based on the political task to facilitate the national interests and the country's development. In the process of intensive international integration, the diplomatic service must be proactive in order to preserve peace, stability, and increase cooperation and development in the region and internationally.
The Prime Minister also stressed that staff of the ministry should also focus on enhancing party building and remembering the moral example posed by President Ho Chi Minh. At the Congress, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng presented the Ho Chi Minh Order to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs National Border Committee and awarded the Labor Order First Class to Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Phạm Bình Minh. A ceremony to mark the United Nations 70th anniversary was held yesterday, October 27th, in Hanoi. The Prime Minister attended and delivered a speech at the event. Speaking at the ceremony, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng said that since Vietnam joined the UN in 1977, Vietnam has valued the UN's support and effective cooperation in its development. Vietnam has become a middle-income country and has fulfilled many Millennium Development Goals ahead of schedule. The PM believed that Vietnam and UN will promote their relations in development cooperation, as well as peacekeeping, conflict resolution, security, and global issues. Besides economic growth, Vietnam aimed to promote social advancement and equality, democracy, and freedom of citizens, while considering people essential to development. UN coordinator in Vietnam, Pratibha Mehta, used the occasion to present Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng with a UN flag. A conference on exchanging experiences on Level 2 field hospitals between Vietnamese and Australian peacekeeping centers was held on Monday in Ho Chi Minh City. The event is under the framework of the Australia-Vietnam Defence Cooperation Program and part of Vietnam's commitments to join the United Nations peacekeeping missions initiated in 2013. At the meeting, participants exchanged their views and experiences on military medical expertise, operations of Level 2 field hospitals, including preparations, logistics, engineering, patient transport, medicine, and medical equipment. The event is part of efforts to improve the capacity of Vietnam's peacekeeping forces and contribute mutual understanding, cooperation between Vietnam and Australia, as well as peace, stability in the region and the world. The revision of Administrative Procedure Code was discussed on Tuesday morning at the National Assembly. There have been wide-scale public requests for clearer defined jurisdiction. For example, as in whether to let the Supreme People's Court should be in charge of all administrative trials related to a provincial people's committee and its leaders. However, this task should be quite difficult to achieve in reality and might lead to a too large backlog of cases for the Supreme Court to deal with. Many deputies suggested that there should be a clearer role to distinguish the responsibilities of the judicial and executive authorities, as well as to improve transparency among judges when dealing with such cases. In addition, the authorized person must have sufficient knowledge and competence in order to participate in a lawsuit from the beginning until the end and carry out their responsibilities to their defendant. The National Assembly convened on Tuesday to listen to comments on the amended tax laws. On behalf of the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance Đinh Tiến Dũng pointed out that the government is working on the amendments and supplements to the existing tax laws on value-added tax, special consumption tax law, and the tax management law. These laws have been criticized for being out of date and unsuitable with international standards. The chair of the National Assembly's Finance and Budget Committee, Phùng Quốc Hiền, agreed with the necessity to make changes to the existing laws. This is due to the new challenges posed by economic integration facing Vietnamese enterprises and pressure of administrative reforms. Such changes will help improve Vietnam's business environment, encourage localization, and promote support industries. Now, the Vietnam National Assembly's Institute of Legislative Studies held this seminar on improving the legal framework for banking system restructuring on October 27th. The State Bank of Vietnam's taking over of 3 failing banks was the main issue discussed by legal experts at the event, and more in the following.
According to the analysis of many participants, recent restructuring measures of the banking system, such as taking weak credit institutions into public ownership, were correct.
According to a legal perspective, it is practical and legal for the State Bank of Vietnam to nationalize the banks without compensation. This helps the banks to repay a large amount of debts and means that people could withdraw their savings. Therefore, I think this type of action is a suitable temporary solution.
The SBV's nationalization of banks through a special control regime has been defined quite clearly in the law on the SPV, the law on credit institutions, and the government's guiding documents. The nationalization was based on 3 criteria: competence, condition, and order, and applied procedures.
The legal basis for nationalizing weak credit institutions were clear to all participants at the seminar. However, the question is whether the SBV will be responsible for their debts and use public funds to pay for their restructuring is another issue. Many participants question how the SBV will afford to buy weak banks using government funds.
The $493 million that is cost to prop up the 3 joint stock banks wasn't a large amount. The nationalization and restructuring by the SBV were necessary. The funds used were the mandatory reserves of these banks left in the SBV.
The implementation of bank restructuring requires the banking system to control inflation, reduce interest rates, re-establish discipline, stabilize the gold market, and maintain stable exchange rates. And these moves help to strengthen trust among both domestic and foreign customers towards Vietnam's banking system.
A national conference on urban planning to adapt to climate change was held in Can Tho City on Tuesday. The event took place at a time where the city is dealing with high tides. Based on flooding in the city, climate change experts analyzed the Mekong Delta's capacity to tackle climate change as a low-land area with declining silt deposits due to increasingly rapid urbanization. The Mekong Delta is increasingly prone to flooding, rising sea levels, and the impact of climate change making the problem even more severe. Solutions proposed at the event include creating spaces that can change in size and shape to contain water. This measure is being implemented in Can Tho through a project to renovate the city's canal system. Experts also pinpointed the importance of comprehensive urban planning with strict enforcement of construction regulations to help the Mekong Delta become more resilient to the impact of climate change. The Californian wine has a good international reputation and could become a potential commodity to boost trade between Vietnam and the U.S. California's economy is larger than many countries, ranking 8th in terms of GDP if compared to other national economies.
Currently, wine from California accounts for a high percentage of total wine imported into Vietnam. Vietnam is California's 9th largest wine export market.
Many people were surprised to know that California wine is sold, and many people in Vietnam drink California wine. That shows that, and there are many other opportunities that we probably don't know of.
In California, people are very excited at the opportunities to sell Californian wine to Vietnam. This shows that there are huge potential business opportunities between the two countries.
Wine is one of many commodities that will enjoy the benefits the TPP brings to both countries once it is ratified. Currently, Vietnam is the 10th biggest market for California in terms of agro-produce export.
I think there are big opportunities. California is importing more from Vietnam than Vietnam is importing from California, and that's okay. But I would think trade will expand, and that's a good thing.
If the TPP is ratified, it would allow a freer flow of trade between Vietnam and the U.S. Vietnam should also be more proactive in finding the country's core competitive products to benefit from this free trade agreement trend.
Now, since the negotiations came to a conclusion on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPP, Vietnamese seafood businesses have closely paid attention to the opportunities as well as the challenges.
However, will Vietnam's fishing crews and processors be sufficiently aware of the TPP's contents so they can benefit from the opportunities while being sufficiently prepared for the challenges posed by more advanced and efficient economies?
Japan is the main tuna export market to Vietnam. However, tuna exports from Vietnam to Japan face a 7.2% tax, whereas Thailand and the Philippines benefit from zero tariffs, a situation that could change in the post-TPP period.
0% export tax means more countries will export tuna to Vietnam. So, if fishermen do not enhance the quality of their catches, they won't be able to compete when it comes to providing tuna for export processing factories in Vietnam.
Tuna production from Bình Định, Phú Yên, and Khánh Hòa provinces saw around 9,800 tons of tuna during peak season. According to fishermen, in order to make a profit, trawlers need to catch between 1.5 to 2 tons in each fishing trip. However, only a few fishing vessels can achieve this. This doesn't even include issues to do with the quality of the catches, which also lead to poorer incomes.
Usually, 5 out of 10 tons of fish are not sufficiently fresh, so could just have been washed up on the shore.
Technical issues as how to ensure quantity and quality at the same time remain the big questions.
We haven't solved technical problems in the past 2 years. Our fish does not meet the standard quality, so the price is not high.
Experts suggest that Vietnamese tuna businesses should work closely together to form production chains. This will improve the competitiveness of Vietnamese tuna in the world markets, especially if the TPP is ratified.
Coming up next on VTV News, commercial flight route connecting China's Guangzhou province with Phu Quoc Island to be promoted. And joint U.S., Vietnamese, and South African students exchange program explores ways to help bring an end to wildlife crime.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
You're watching VTV News Live. Now, a commercial flight route connecting the Chinese province of Guangzhou with Phu Quoc Island in Kiên Giang province in Vietnam will be launched. This was made at a meeting on Phu Quoc Island on Tuesday to discuss the opening of the route. It is expected from the first quarter of the next year, mid-sized aircraft will offer 2 to 3 flights per week. Phu Quoc Island is rapidly being transformed from a natural, quiet island into a gigantic resort destination. A move that is encouraging international airlines like China Southern Airlines to cooperate with the island district. China Southern Airlines also operates flights to Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and Nha Trang. The company currently has routes to 190 locations in 41 countries. The Ministry of Transport held a meeting on Monday to discuss measures to improve Tân Sơn Nhất Airport's services. The meeting was conducted after the airport had been listed among the top 10 worst in the world. Tân Sơn Nhất Airport has been seriously overloaded, with the domestic terminal currently serving 4 million passengers, more than design capacity. Pickups and drop-offs outside are also over capacity, with over 15,000 cars and 9,000 motorbikes visiting the airport. Transport Minister Đinh La Thăng requested that flights, particularly for domestic routes, be rearranged for off-peak hours, particularly evening flights. The airport is expected to increase capacity to handle 40 flights per hour. The representative from the Vietnam Food Safety Association Administration confirmed in an interview on Tuesday that the Ministry of Health had not imported 68 tons of metric salbutamol. Vietnam's pharmaceutical and healthcare industries have only imported 3.5 tons of salbutamol since the beginning of this year. The industry has only used it in medical treatments to relieve asthma, bronchitis, and similar breathing problems. The director also said that further investigations were needed to find out if the chemical was being used illegally in animal feed production. How can Vietnam's livestock sector successfully integrate into the global market? And how can farmers switch from small-scale and fragmented production to systematic production to benefit from economies of scale? These questions were the highlights of a seminar on prospects for Vietnam's livestock at an event held on Tuesday in Hanoi. At the event, experts share experience of the LiveSap project funded by the World Bank to have increased the competitiveness of the livestock industry in Vietnam. After 5 years, the project has helped 15,000 households meet VietGAP standards. The mortality rate in the herds has fallen from 15 to 1%, while the time rearing animals has fallen by 15 days.
Farmers are proactive in adopting new techniques. We provide them with information and support measures to improve their raising techniques. But farmers need to take this much more seriously. They need to understand the urgency of the problem.
According to the Department of Livestock, 86% of farmers in the livestock industry raise less than 10 pigs per household. 97% of chicken farmers have less than 100 chicken per household. Once the tax on imported livestock is lowered to 0%, they will suffer from severe competition from chicken imported from the U.S. and pigs from Thailand.
According to our research, farmers are completely unaware of the content of the free trade agreements Vietnam has been negotiating. Small enterprises are the same, so it is very important that the government spread knowledge about the threats and opportunities to farmers so they have time to prepare solutions. Raising the awareness of farmers about economic integration is a very important task. Farmers need to understand their challenges and work together to solve them. It is very urgent now to apply technology in raising livestock to increase the competitiveness of the sector.
A study by the International Institute for Livestock has shown that if farmers prepare well for the disease prevention, they can reduce costs by about 6%. Consumers are willing to pay 10% more for sanitary products. In other news, a joint U.S., Vietnamese, and South African student exchange program held on October 27th explored ways that the students can work together to help bring an end to wildlife crime and save the rhino from extinction. The program was part of the Operation Game Change launched in March. Our reporters have more.
According to statistics, over 1,200 rhinos was killed in 2014 alone due to demand in Asia, including Vietnam. In order to contribute to the global effort in combating wildlife trafficking and consumption, the Operation Game Change program is jointly held by the American Embassy in Vietnam and Freeland Foundation. All 8 rhino ambassadors in this program are students from the U.S. and South Africa. They have participated in several activities in many countries to raise their voices to protect rhinos.
Like now, I'm talking to you. In seconds, in few minutes, we're losing a rhino. That is why we had to come from South Africa to Vietnam to make everyone in the world that the situation is very terrible. Yes, we are the youth. Yes, we are trying to shout out to let the people know that they must stop killing our rhinos.
Each of 8 student rhino ambassadors shared their experiences and sent a message to Vietnamese students about rhino protection. Vietnamese students also had the chance to participate in several activities, such as making footprints, dancing, and drawing.
My father used to say that rhino horn could cure every disease, but when I took part in this program, I learned that rhino horn is made of the same stuff as our fingernails. This program has young people like me to understanding the reality about rhino horn.
All these important stakeholders coming together with a united voice, saying no to rhino horn, saying no to illegal wildlife products, and that's the type of voice that we need. We need to have people stand up and say no, to stop consuming and to stop using, trading.
In order to show this determination, at the event, stakeholders signed in a book to stop using rhino horns.
Any country will not be happy to see its wildlife being attacked the way our rhinos are killed in South Africa. That's why, as a country, we are cooperating with everyone who is supporting a campaign against rhino poaching.
At the end of the program, all the students shouted out the slogan to save rhino and combat illegal poaching. After the event, the 8 rhino ambassadors will go to schools in Hanoi to raise awareness of the youth and discuss about preventing wildlife trafficking, all in order to save the rhino!
And just before we say goodbye, let's take a look at our updated weather forecast. And that's a wrap for this live edition of VTV News. In the meantime, do log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more news and updates. And we'll be back at 3 p.m. local time with more developing stories. So see you then and goodbye for now.